Now, you've been sending in your comments about lots of different subjects we've been talking about for this week's news. Let's dive right in with this comment, which says Nicola Sturgeon wants to live in England and is standing for Scotland's independence from England. What a hypocrite. Yes, of course, this story is a particularly interesting one. Nicola Sturgeon saying that she can't breathe freely in Scotland and wants to spend more time in England. Now, of course, it's not necessarily contradictory to believe in one country's independence and then go and live in another country, but it is a little bit funny. I mean, I suppose it's a bit of the equivalent of Nigel Farage campaigning for Brexit and then going off to live in the Costa del Sol. I wonder if Nicola Sturgeon sort of sees the slight irony there in wanting to run away from the country that she has been the standard bearer of the independence drive for. Let's move on now. Our society is only as good as the government of the day, and this government appears to be helping society towards a massive breakdown due entirely to their ideology. I think this one's a little bit too generous to the government to some extent. Does this government have an ideology? Does it know what it's doing? Has the Chancellor been able to get her Plan A through the House of Commons? No. Have there been 101 U-turns? Just about. I mean, whether it's the idea of having a grooming gangs inquiry, whether it's the winter fuel allowance means testing, whether it's the disability benefit reform. I mean, all of these areas have been massive and expensive U-turns for the government. And that's meant that by some analysis, there's now a £50 billion black hole that the Chancellor is going to have to try and plug this autumn. I mean, she told the Treasury Select Committee back last year that she never wanted to do another tax rising budget again. And yet, in the autumn, that's exactly what everyone is expecting now. So I'm not sure that the government actually has a consistent ideology here. I'm not sure that they had a consistent plan for what they wanted to do when they got into government. I mean, they had a long time when they knew that they were going to win that last election, and yet as soon as they got into office, it seemed that they just twiddled their thumbs, that they haven't really done anything, that they said that they wanted growth to be the watchword of the government, to be the number one thing this government was doing, and yet sort of what have they done on that front? They've U-turned on part of their planning and infrastructure bill. This is one of the biggest pro-growth pieces of legislation they're putting forward, and they're already rowing back on what they wanted to do, making it harder than it would have been to build things in this country. I'm not sure there's been a consistent ideological strain of this government. Maybe that's one of their problems. Although perhaps if they were even more ideological, things might have been maybe less chaotic in terms of the directions that they're travelling in, but maybe more economically destructive. Let's move on now. Starmer couldn't negotiate a deal to save his life. If he'd have said to Macron that French access to our fishing grounds was inversely proportional to the number of migrants crossing, we'd be down to a trickle now. But he wouldn't do that because Starmer is more anti-British than Macron. Well, that's a big charge against the Prime Minister there. An interesting proposal, though, that we shouldn't give the French any access to fishing grounds and use that as sort of leverage to stop the boats. I'm not sure that it would be enough to give as leverage, because I think the French would then take stuff away from this country. It's a sort of fun idea that you could be more hardball with the French, though. Perhaps the bigger idea is to go back to where we were in the sort of 1500s and take some sovereign land for England in the north of France. Let's reclaim Calais and see how quickly this problem stops then. Let's move on though, because this one says Starmer ought to be impeached for misleading Parliament over the bonkers Chagos deal. Yes, Keir Starmer was using a very surprisingly low figure of just £3.5 billion for the leasing back of islands that we're giving away to Mauritius. A completely bonkers agreement that could only have been reached by someone that was sort of trying to give these things away for, I don't know, brownie points on the international stage. But yes, it turns out that it's going to cost 10 times more than what Keir Starmer claimed in Parliament. Although I think he's got a get-out clause. Other than misleading Parliament, he can say that he was using the inflation adjusted numbers using the Treasury deflator to reduce the apparent cost by 10 times. There is an inconsistency here, though. Of course, when Angela Rayner was boasting about the amount she was spending on affordable housing just a few weeks before this, well, she was using the non-inflation adjusted figures. So yes, it does seem that this government picks and chooses which measure of money they want, depending if they want to make a pot of money seem a lot smaller than it is or a lot bigger than it is. Well, let's move on now. Why should Labour's action on illegal migration take some time? Trump achieved results in days. It takes years to smash the gangs. If it takes years to smash the gangs, it'll take them days to regroup. Utter rubbish from Labour as usual. Yes, Trump did reduce the number of border crossings markedly in a very short period of time. But of course, he's not a signatory to any sort of international treaty that would make it difficult for him to do so. He's not a member of the ECHR, for instance. He can just deport people without seeing the same level of appeals process that we'd see in a country like this one. The legal structures are very, very different. Perhaps you'd like to see a government that would ignore those legal obligations, but I think perhaps the better way to deal with this would be to renegotiate those legal obligations, or indeed leave some of those overarching structures that hamper what a British government is able to do. It does create some of these problems that countries like America and Australia haven't run into. Although, of course, that does take a bit more gumption from the politicians. This one says, people need an incentive to work. Stop making it easy to stay on benefits and being better off. I mean, it is extraordinary how much better off you can be collecting up lots of different benefits, whether it's adding up universal credit, housing benefit, personal independence payments, the mobility component of personal independence payments. That can even get you a brand new free car using that mobility component of personal independence payments. And there are companies out there in this country that will fill out your claiming forms for you. There are extraordinary to read testimonials of people who use these companies who say, I couldn't get a penny out of the DWP when I filled out the form myself, but using these pre-filled out forms that various companies use, well, then they've been able to get every benefit under the sun. I mean, it is extraordinary how various companies help people who have been rejected from benefits then get the maximum amount of benefits that they want. I mean, it's extraordinary how generous the system is, and perhaps how the system is being gamed too. We're seeing sickfluencers on apps like TikTok telling people how to claim easily, what answers to give to get past the assessment system, how to go from having 0 points to 20 points and getting your full benefits. I mean, it is extraordinary. Perhaps the system wasn't built for an age where people could tell people how to get around the system, how to get through that application process. It is extraordinary also how in-person assessments had quite a high drop-off rate of people before the night before they were going to be assessed for getting these benefits. When they were in-person assessments, you'd get a significant number of drop-offs. When it moved to being by phone conversation rather than in person, that drop-off rate dropped away. Now, it's not hard to hypothesize that the drop-off rate was people who wanted to fraudulently claim, and they didn't think they could hold it together in front of someone in person, so they dropped off. But when it's over the phone, it's easy to read a script. It's easier to fraudulently claim. I am absolutely convinced there is a significant level of fraud in this system. There are significant numbers of people who are claiming, who don't need to claim, and the system that was designed for a high-trust society, that was designed so that people would be honest and follow it using the sort of good chap theory of government, well, I think that has been significantly broken now, and you do get people who clearly could work, who perhaps wouldn't be assessed as being disabled in any way 10 or 15 years ago, who now can claim significant numbers of benefits. This is a system that needs to be seriously looked at. But when the government tried to reform it, what happened? They had to U-turn. It seems like it's very, very difficult to rationalise a system that is ballooning out of control. Well, thanks for sending in all of your comments. Do remember to keep on commenting down in the comment section here on YouTube, on TikTok, or indeed on anywhere where this social media video goes out, and at gbnews.com/your say. All your comments are all immensely welcome here at GB News. It's part of what we do to have that two-way flowing conversation, not just those reading the news or presenting the shows, but also the people watching and engaging too. That's the two-way flow here that makes GB News quite so unique and quite so familial. Also, do remember to click that subscribe button and stay up to date with all of our original content here on the social media platforms that this spreads out on like a glorious pandemic of wonderfully infective GB News content. So do remember to share that with your friends and family, click that subscribe button and stay completely up to date.